April 1945, Hamburg, Germany. Sergeant Michael Torres and his unit were clearing bombed buildings when they heard it, faint crying coming from a partially collapsed warehouse near the harbor. "Could be a trap," Private Johnson warned. "Germans hiding, using kids as bait." "Or it could actually be kids," Michael replied. "We check it out. Carefully." The warehouse was a 3-story industrial building, roof caved in, walls crumbling. The bombing had torn massive holes in the structure, but parts remained standing, barely. "Hello?" Michael called out in broken German. "Anyone there?" More crying, louder now, definitely children. They entered through a collapsed wall, weapons ready. The interior was devastation, twisted metal, shattered concrete, debris everywhere. But in the back corner in what used to be a storage room, they saw movement. "Jesus Christ," Johnson whispered. Children, dozens of them, maybe more, huddled together in the shadows like frightened animals, ranging from toddlers to teenagers, filthy, skeletal, terrified. "We're American," Michael said gently, lowering his rifle. "We're here to help. Does anyone speak English?" An older girl, maybe 15, stepped forward hesitantly. "I speak little English. We are from orphanage. Bombing destroyed building. We came here hiding." "How many of you?" "Many, maybe 200 children. I don't know exactly." 200. Michael's mind reeled. 200 orphans hiding in a destroyed warehouse. "How long have you been here?" 3 weeks, maybe more. We lost count." "Food? Water?" The girl's face crumbled. "We have nothing. Some children died already. Many are very sick. Please," her voice broke, "please help us." Michael looked at his unit. 6 soldiers, 200 starving children. This wasn't combat. This was a humanitarian catastrophe. "Johnson, radio command. Tell them we've found civilian children requiring immediate assistance. Medical emergency. Food, water, transport, everything." "Sir, command's going to ask questions. What do we do with them? We're a combat unit, not—" "I don't care what we are. These are kids dying. We help them. Figure out logistics later." As Johnson radioed, Michael approached the children slowly. They flinched, frightened. Many couldn't even stand. Too weak from starvation. "We're going to help you," he said through the translator girl. "We'll get food, medicine, everything you need. You're safe now." "You promise?" a small boy asked in German. The translator girl translated. Michael nodded. "I promise." But even as he said it, uncertainty gnawed. What were they supposed to do with 200 orphans? The war was still ongoing. Resources were stretched. And these were German children, technically enemy civilians. Command's response came quickly. "Secure the location. Do not remove children. Medical team en route. Higher command needs to assess situation." "They're starving now," Michael protested. "Assessment can happen after we feed them." "Negative. Hold position. That's an order." Michael cursed under his breath. Bureaucracy versus dying children. He made a decision. "Johnson, distribute our rations. All of them. These kids eat now." "Sir, that's against—" "I don't care. They're dying. Our rations won't kill us." "Lack of food is killing them." The unit shared their food. K-rations, chocolate bars, whatever they had. It wasn't much. Not nearly enough for 200 children, but it was something. Watching skeletal children devour food with desperate hunger, Michael knew this moment would define him. Not the battles he'd fought, not the enemies he'd killed. This, choosing to help dying children despite orders, despite protocol, despite the complications. The translator girl approached him, tears streaming. "Thank you. Many children would die today without this. You saved them." "We haven't saved anyone yet," Michael replied grimly. "This is just the beginning." Because feeding them was easy. Figuring out what came next, that was the impossible part. 200 orphans in a destroyed city, no families, no homes, no future. What were they supposed to do? The answer would come, but not easily, and not without controversy that would reach all the way to military command. For now, Michael sat among the children, watching them eat, and wondered what he'd gotten himself into, and whether he'd made a promise he couldn't keep. The medical team arrived 2 hours later. 3 army medics and a doctor. What they found horrified them. Severe malnutrition, Dr. Sarah Klein reported, examining child after child. Dehydration, infections, pneumonia. At least 6 won't survive without immediate hospitalization. Can we move them? The critical ones, yes. But moving 200 children... She shook her head. We need a plan. This warehouse is structurally unsound, but transporting this many sick children requires resources we don't have here. Captain Morrison arrived an hour later. Surveying the situation with a grim expression, he pulled Michael aside. Sergeant, you've created a logistical nightmare. Sir, I found dying children. What was I supposed to do? Follow protocol, report and wait for orders before distributing military supplies. Children were starving. And now command is demanding answers. What do we do with 200 German orphans? Where do they go? Who's responsible for them? You've opened a can of worms, Torres. With respect, sir, I opened a warehouse door. The worms were already there. Morrison's expression softened slightly. I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm saying you've complicated things, but... He looked at the children, many now sleeping, finally having eaten. We'll figure it out. First priority, keep them alive. We can argue about regulations later. Over the next 24 hours, a makeshift operation emerged. Engineers shored up the warehouse structure, making it temporarily safer. Supply units delivered food, water, blankets. Medics set up a triage area for the sickest children. The translator girl, her name was Anna, became invaluable. She explained the children's story. We were in orphanage in Hamburg, run by church. When bombing started, many buildings destroyed. Our orphanage was hit. Adults, teachers, caretakers, they ran away, abandoned us. Some children died in bombing. Rest of us, we came here. Thought maybe warehouse would protect us. Who's the oldest? Michael asked. Me. I'm 15. Some teenagers, maybe 13, 14. But many are small children, babies even. We tried to care for them, but no food, no medicine. Her voice broke. We couldn't save everyone. How many died? 15, maybe more. We buried them behind the warehouse. Michael felt sick. 15 children dead because adults abandoned them, because war created chaos, because no one was responsible. You did everything you could, he told Anna. You kept most of them alive. That's incredible. It doesn't feel incredible. It feels like failure. The burial site behind the warehouse was heartbreaking. Makeshift graves marked with pieces of wood, children who died alone, scared, starving. We'll do proper burials, Dr. Klein promised. They deserve that much. But the living children required more attention. Dr. Klein reported to Morrison 6 critical cases evacuated to field hospital. 20 more severely malnourished but stable. The rest are in better condition, but still require medical monitoring and proper nutrition. This will take weeks, maybe months. Weeks we don't have, Morrison replied. The war's still ongoing. We can't run an orphanage. Then what do we do with them? That question haunted everyone. German civilian authorities barely functioned. The Nazi government had collapsed. Social services didn't exist. Where could 200 orphans go? There must be other orphanages, Morrison said, other institutions. Most are destroyed or overwhelmed, Anna translated from what other children had told her. Many orphanages closed. Adults fled. No one wants responsibility for enemy orphans during war. Michael watched the children, some playing now, having eaten and rested, others still too weak to move, all vulnerable, all dependent on soldiers who'd stumbled upon them by accident. We can't abandon them, he said firmly. We found them. That makes them our responsibility. We're soldiers, not social workers. Then we become social workers, temporarily, until we find a better solution. Morrison rubbed his face tiredly. Command is going to hate this, but you're right. We can't just leave them. The decision was made. The unit would remain, caring for the children until proper arrangements could be made. Additional personnel would be assigned, medics, supply officers, translators. The warehouse would become a temporary American-run orphanage. News spread quickly. Other units heard about it. Some soldiers visited, bringing extra rations, toys, anything that might help. Others criticized, wasting resources on enemy children while the war continued. "They're kids," Michael told one critical officer. "Not enemies, just kids who got caught in something bigger than themselves." The controversy grew. Some praised the humanitarian effort. Others called it misguided, but the children didn't care about politics. They cared about food, safety, hope. Anna approached Michael one evening. "Thank you for not leaving us, for making others stay. You saved us. We haven't saved you yet, just keeping you alive. That's everything." But Michael knew the hard part was coming. Keeping them alive was step one. Giving them a future, that was the impossible challenge, and time was running out to figure it out. Week 2. The warehouse had transformed. Engineers had repaired the worst structural damage. Sleeping areas were organized. A makeshift school had started. Soldiers teaching basic lessons. The children were gaining weight, regaining strength. But the question remained, what next? Captain Morrison received orders from higher command. Find suitable placement for the orphans within 2 weeks. Military personnel cannot continue childcare operations indefinitely. 2 weeks to find homes for 200 children in a destroyed country. It was impossible. Michael, Anna, and Dr. Klein sat in what they'd converted into an office, a corner of the warehouse with a desk and chairs. "We need to trace families," Dr. Klein suggested. "Some of these children must have surviving relatives." "How?" Anna asked. "Records destroyed, cities bombed, people displaced everywhere. How do we find anyone?" "We try. What do we know about these children, where they came from?" Anna had compiled information, names, ages, last known addresses. It was incomplete, but it was something. "Most are from Hamburg and surrounding areas," she explained. "Some came from other destroyed cities, Berlin, Bremen, Cologne. Their families were killed in bombings, or they were separated during evacuations. The orphanage was collecting displaced children. Any with known relatives? Maybe 20 children remember aunts, uncles, grandparents, but they don't know if those relatives survived or where they might be. Then we start there. We use military channels to search for those 20 relatives. If we succeed, maybe we can place some children. That's better than nothing." Over the following days, they sent inquiries through Red Cross, military government offices, church organizations, anyone who might help locate surviving family members. The responses were heartbreaking. Most inquiries returned negative. Relative confirmed dead, or location unknown, or unable to care for additional children themselves. But a few succeeded. An aunt in a small village survived the war, willing to take her 2 nephews. A grandmother in Bavaria, able to care for 1 grandchild. Each success felt like a miracle. "We've placed 8 children," Michael reported after 10 days. "That leaves 192. "And 4 days until deadline," Morrison added grimly. "Command is losing patience. They want these children transferred to German civilian authorities." "What civilian authorities? The government collapsed. There's no one to transfer them to. Then they want us to leave them here with food and supplies and move on. That's abandonment. That's military reality. We're soldiers, Torres. We have orders." Michael felt fury rising. "So we save them from starvation just to abandon them to die slower? I don't like it either, but we don't make policy." That evening, Michael sat with the children during dinner. They laughed, played, acted like normal kids for the first time in weeks. The youngest ones called him Papa Mike in broken English. It broke his heart. Anna noticed his expression. "What's wrong?" "Command wants us to leave in 4 days. They want us to abandon you." Anna's face went pale. "You promised. You said you'd help us." "I'm trying, but I'm running out of options." "Then fight harder, please. We can't survive alone again." Michael knew she was right, but fighting military command was nearly impossible unless he could generate enough public pressure to force their hand. "Anna, how would you feel about talking to a reporter? A reporter telling your story, the children's story. If the American people knew what was happening here, they might demand action. Public pressure could change Command's mind. You want me to talk to newspapers? Only if you're comfortable. It's risky, could backfire, but it might be our only chance. Anna didn't hesitate. I'll do it. For the children. I'll do anything. Michael contacted a journalist he'd met, Robert Chen from the Associated Press. Chen arrived the next day, notepad ready. "Tell me everything," he said. Anna did. She described the bombing, the abandonment, 3 weeks of starvation, watching children die, the American soldiers who'd saved them, and now the threat of abandonment again. Chen took notes furiously. "This is incredible. Tragic and incredible. May I photograph the children?" "Some might be frightened," Anna warned. "Then just the ones who are comfortable." The article appeared 3 days later. American soldiers saved 200 German orphans, then ordered to abandon them. It ran in newspapers across America. Public reaction was immediate and fierce. Letters poured into military command, congressional offices, the White House. "How can we abandon children we saved? These are orphans, not enemies. America must do better." The pressure worked. Command reversed orders. "Continue operations until permanent solution is found. Humanitarian considerations outweigh military protocol in this case." Michael received the news with relief and trepidation. They'd bought time, but they still needed an actual solution. "We won 30 days, he told Anna. "Now we find a real answer. And if we can't, then we keep fighting. I promised I wouldn't abandon you. I keep my promises." But privately, Michael wondered, what if 30 days wasn't enough? What if no solution existed? What happened to the children then? The clock was ticking, and the impossible deadline loomed. Week 4. The public response to the newspaper article brought unexpected help. Donations flooded in: food, clothes, toys, money. Church groups offered assistance. Charities volunteered resources. But most importantly, a letter arrived from a woman in New York. "My name is Margaret Patterson," Dr. Klein read aloud. "I'm a widow with a large estate. I've been following the story of the Hamburg orphans. I want to help. I'm willing to sponsor their immigration to America and provide housing, education, and care at my family's property. Please contact me immediately if this is possible." Michael stared at the letter. "Is she serious?" "Seems to be. She's provided references, lawyers, church leaders, government contacts. This woman is wealthy and apparently genuine. Can we even do that? Bring German orphans to America during the war? I don't know, but it's the best offer we've received." They contacted Margaret Patterson by telephone. She was indeed serious and persuasive. "These children deserve a future," she explained. "Germany is destroyed. They have nothing there. America can offer them safety, education, opportunities. I have the resources. I just need government approval." Over the following weeks, she worked tirelessly. She contacted congressmen, military officials, immigration authorities. She hired lawyers to navigate the complex regulations. She submitted petitions, arranged guarantees, provided financial documentation. The biggest obstacle: immigration law. Enemy nationals couldn't easily enter the United States. Even orphaned children required extensive processing, background checks, sponsorship. "This could take years," Morrison warned. "Immigration during wartime is nearly impossible." But Margaret Patterson was relentless. She leveraged social connections, public sympathy, political pressure. The newspaper coverage helped. Americans were emotionally invested in these orphans now. Meanwhile, the children thrived under American care. They attended makeshift school. They played. They gained weight. Some smiled for the first time since the bombing. Michael grew attached. He couldn't help it. These kids had gotten under his skin. The little ones who called him Papa Mike. The teenagers who helped care for younger children. Anna, whose strength and leadership amazed him daily. "What happens if the immigration doesn't work?" she asked one evening. "If we can't go to America, then we find another solution. Somehow. There is no other solution. You know that. If we stay in Germany, we die. Slowly, But we die. No food, no homes, no future. We've seen it. Orphans on the streets, starving, begging. That's what happens to us. I won't let that happen. You can't promise that. You're a soldier. Eventually you'll get orders to leave. Then what? We're alone again." Michael had no answer, because she was right. He couldn't stay forever. Eventually, military operations would move on. And then, on day 58, a telegram arrived. Margaret Patterson had succeeded. Special immigration exemption granted for the Hamburg orphans. They could emigrate to America as humanitarian refugees under her sponsorship. All of them, Michael asked, hardly believing. All 192 remaining children, plus Anna as their caretaker. "Transportation will be arranged. They'll sail to New York next month." The news spread through the warehouse like wildfire. Children cheered. Some cried with relief. Anna collapsed into Michael's arms, sobbing. "You kept your promise. You saved us. Margaret Patterson saved you. I just bought time." "No. You fought for us. You refused to abandon us. That saved us." The following weeks were a whirlwind. Processing paperwork, medical examinations, preparing for travel. The children were excited and terrified simultaneously, leaving the only country they'd known for a land they'd only heard about. Michael helped with everything. He'd grown so attached that saying goodbye felt impossible. "Will you visit us?" Anna asked as departure day approached. "In America? I don't know. The war's still happening. But maybe, someday, I'll write you letters, tell you how everyone is doing. I'd like that." The day they departed, the entire unit came to say goodbye. Soldiers who'd spent 2 months caring for these children, teaching them, protecting them. Some openly wept. The children boarded trucks heading to the port. They waved, shouting thank yous in broken English and German. Michael stood watching until the last truck disappeared. "You did good," Morrison said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Really good. I just hope it works out. Hope America treats them well. They'll be fine. You gave them a chance. That's more than most orphans get." As the unit prepared to move to their next assignment, Michael felt both satisfaction and loss. He'd saved 192 children, given them futures. But he'd also bonded with them. Saying goodbye hurt more than he'd expected. "Will you really visit them?" Johnson asked. "If I survive this war, yes, I need to see how their story ends." "Ends? This isn't an ending. It's a beginning." Johnson was right. For those children, boarding ships to America, this wasn't conclusion. It was the start of everything. And Michael had given them that. He'd kept his promise. The ship carrying the Hamburg orphans arrived in New York Harbor 3 weeks later. Michael received a letter from Anna describing it. "Dear Sergeant Torres, we arrived in America today. The Statue of Liberty was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. We're not enemies here, we're refugees, welcomed refugees. Mrs. Patterson met us at the dock. She's wonderful, kind, organized, determined. Her estate is enormous. Each child has a real bed, hot water, more food than we can eat. Some children cried because they couldn't believe it was real. We're starting school next week, learning English properly. Mrs. Patterson hired teachers. We'll have education, opportunities, everything we never thought possible. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for not abandoning us. Thank you for fighting when it would have been easier to walk away. You changed our lives. You gave us futures. We will never forget you. With gratitude, Anna and all the Hamburg children." Michael read the letter multiple times, tears streaming down his face. They'd made it. They were safe. His promise was kept. But the story wasn't over for Michael. He survived the war, returned home in 1946, and never forgot the Hamburg orphans. In 1950, 5 years after the war, he visited Margaret Patterson's estate in New York. What he found amazed him. The children had thrived. They attended good schools. They spoke fluent English. They were healthy, happy, integrated into American life. Some had been adopted by American families. Others remained at the estate, part of a unique community. Anna, now 20, was attending college studying social work. I want to help other orphans, she explained, like you helped us. You've done more than I ever did. You showed me that one person can make a difference, that refusing to abandon people matters. I'm just following your example. Michael spent a week at the estate, reuniting with children who'd grown so much. They showed him their schoolwork, their friends, their new lives. Some barely remembered the warehouse. Others remembered vividly and wanted to hear his perspective. "Why did you help us?" a teenager asked. "We were German. You were American. Why risk trouble for enemies?" "Because you weren't enemies. You were children. That's all that mattered." Before leaving, Margaret Patterson pulled Michael aside. "You started this, found them, fought for them, refused to accept abandonment. Without you, none of this exists. You're the one who actually saved them. You brought them here. I provided resources. You provided hope, different contributions, both necessary." Michael left the estate feeling peace. His promise had been kept. The children were thriving. The story had a happy ending, but Margaret had one final request. "Come back, regularly. These children need to know you didn't forget them." Michael did. He visited annually for decades, watching the Hamburg orphans grow into successful adults. Teachers, doctors, parents, citizens contributing to America. Anna became a renowned social worker, dedicating her life to refugee children. She often spoke publicly about her experience. "We were dying in a warehouse," she'd tell audiences. "American soldiers could have walked past. Orders might have been easier, but they stopped. They helped. They fought for us. That choice saved 192 lives, and those 192 lives have created families, careers, contributions." That's what happens when someone refuses to abandon people. The impact ripples forward forever. By 1970, the Hamburg orphans had started their own families. Over 400 descendants from the original 192. Michael attended reunions, amazed at what had grown from that one decision to help. "Do you regret it?" Morrison asked during one reunion. "All the trouble it caused?" "Not once. Best thing I did in the entire war. Because you saved them. Because I kept a promise. To children who'd been abandoned by everyone. I promised I wouldn't abandon them too, keeping that promise. That defined who I am." When Michael died in 1995 at age 78, his funeral was attended by hundreds, the Hamburg orphans, now elderly themselves, and their children and grandchildren. They'd flown from across America to honor the man who'd saved their family line. Anna, now 65, gave the eulogy. "He found us dying. He fought for us. He refused to accept that children were expendable. That promise, that stubborn refusal to abandon vulnerable people, created all of us. Everyone in this room exists because one soldier stopped at a warehouse and said, 'These are children, and children deserve saving.' And the Hamburg children placed a memorial at the warehouse site in Germany. Here, 200 orphans nearly died. Here, American soldiers chose humanity over orders. Here lives were saved that created generations." That's the story people remember. Not just the rescue, but the follow-through, the refusal to abandon, the kept promise. Because anyone can make promises. Keeping them, especially difficult ones, that's what matters. And Michael Torres proved that one kept promise can change hundreds of lives, forever. Subscribe to see more incredible Lubidui stories where individual courage created lasting legacies. The impact of choosing humanity ripples through generations. 1948, 3 years after the rescue. The Hamburg children were thriving in America, but adjusting hadn't been easy. Some struggled with nightmares, others with identity, German but raised American, belonging nowhere completely. Anna, now 18, helped younger children navigate these challenges. She'd become Margaret Patterson's assistant, managing the estate's orphan program. "How do you do it?" Margaret asked. "Bridge both worlds so successfully? I remember where I came from. I embrace where I am. Both are part of me." Not all children adapted as well. Some faced prejudice. Nazi kids, classmates called them, despite their orphan status. Anna fought back, educating people about their story. "We were victims of war, not perpetrators," she told school administrators. "Judge us by our actions, not our birthplace." Gradually, acceptance came. The children proved themselves through hard work and good character. Teachers praised them. Neighbors welcomed them. They became part of the community. Michael visited regularly, watching progress with pride. "You've exceeded every hope I had for you." "Because you gave us the chance," Anna replied. "Everything we've become started in that warehouse when you chose to help." Some children wanted to return to Germany, searching for surviving relatives. Margaret sponsored these trips, helping reunite families when possible. 3 children found surviving grandparents. 2 found siblings they'd thought dead. "My sister survived," one boy reported excitedly after returning. "She's living in Berlin. Can she come to America too?" Margaret made it happen. The Hamburg program expanded. Not just the original 192, but reunited family members too. By 1950, over 250 people were part of the Patterson Estate community. "You've created something extraordinary," Michael told Margaret. "A whole village built on compassion. We created it together. You found them. I gave them home. They did the rest." The children never forgot their origins. They sent packages to German orphanages, food, clothes, toys, helping others the way they'd been helped. "Paying it forward," Anna explained. "We survived because someone helped. Now we help others." That philosophy would define them forever. 1950, 5 years after rescue. The Hamburg children held a reunion, inviting everyone who'd been part of their salvation: Michael's unit, Dr. Klein, Captain Morrison, journalists who'd covered their story. Over 300 people attended. The children, now teenagers and young adults, organized everything, wanting to thank those who'd saved them. "We're here because you didn't walk past," Anna told the gathered soldiers. "You stopped. You helped. You fought for us. That created all of this." She gestured at the thriving community, children laughing, playing, studying, proof that compassion worked, that saving lives mattered. Michael was guest of honor. The children had commissioned a plaque to Sergeant Michael Torres, who found 200 dying children and refused to abandon them. "You taught us that promises matter. This community is your legacy." "I'm not comfortable with this attention," Michael admitted. "I just did what was right." "That's exactly why you deserve recognition," Morrison replied. "Most people don't do what's right when it's difficult. You did." The reunion revealed remarkable achievements. Several children had graduated high school. 3 were attending college. 2 had been accepted to medical school inspired by Dr. Klein. 1 was studying law, wanting to help refugees like himself. "What we've accomplished, it's because you gave us stability," Anna explained. "Security, education, opportunity. We couldn't have done any of this if you'd abandoned us in that warehouse." A reporter asked Michael, "Do you have regrets? The controversy it caused?" "None. Every complication was worth it. These children," he gestured at the thriving young adults, "they're proof that individual actions matter, that one person refusing to accept injustice can change everything." Dr. Klein agreed. "I've worked in medicine for 30 years, saved countless lives, but this," she looked at the children, "this is my greatest achievement. Because we didn't just save lives, we gave them futures." The reunion became annual tradition. Every year, the Hamburg children gathered to remember where they'd come from and celebrate what they'd become. "Why is remembering important?" younger children asked. "Because forgetting means repeating," Anna answered. "We remember the war's horror, the abandonment, the starvation. So we never let it happen to others. That's how we honor those who saved us, by saving others." That philosophy spread. Hamburg children became teachers, social workers, advocates, always helping vulnerable people, always refusing to abandon those in need. "They're replicating what was done for them," Margaret observed, "creating ripples of compassion." "That's the real legacy," Michael agreed. "Not just that we saved them, but that they're saving others. The impact multiplied exponentially. 1955, 10 years after rescue. Anna married an American teacher. Beautiful ceremony attended by all 192 original orphans. Her wedding symbolized complete integration, German refugee becoming American wife, building future instead of dwelling on past. "Are you happy?" Michael asked during the reception. "Completely, but Michael, I never forget. Never forget the warehouse, the hunger, the fear, the moment you walked through that door and said you'd help. You were children who needed help. That's all. That's everything. You saw us as worthy of saving. In that moment, we went from being abandoned orphans to being people who mattered. That changed everything. The Hamburg children were now adults, contributing to society in remarkable ways. Dr. Peter Neumann, one of the orphans, had just completed medical residency. "I'm specializing in pediatrics. Helping children like Dr. Klein helped us. Teacher Maria Hartmann taught immigrant children, helping them adjust to America. I know what it's like to arrive scared and lost. I helped them find belonging." Lawyer David Fisher worked on immigration cases, helping refugees legally navigate what Mrs. Patterson did for us, bringing desperate people to safety. Each child had found purpose rooted in their rescue experience. They understood vulnerability. They recognized need. They acted. Michael retired from military in 1955, his legacy secure. He'd received medals for combat, but the Hamburg rescue remained his proudest achievement. "Most soldiers are remembered for enemies killed," he told a military historian. "I want to be remembered for children saved. That's a better legacy." When the historian asked why, Michael showed him letters, hundreds of them, from the Hamburg children and their families, thanking him, updating him, proving that his choice mattered. "This one is from Anna's daughter," Michael explained. "Born last year, named Michelle after me. She exists because I stopped at a warehouse. That child, her children, her grandchildren, entire lineages that wouldn't exist if I'd walked past. How many descendants now? From the 192 original children, probably 300 people, and growing. In 50 years could be thousands, all because of one decision to help." That perspective humbled Michael. One choice, one promise kept, exponential impact. "Do you ever wonder about the children who died?" the historian asked. "The 15 who died before you arrived?" "Every day. I think about how we were almost too late, how 15 children died alone and scared. That haunts me. But it also motivates me. I saved 192 because I acted. How many more could have been saved if others had acted sooner?" The question lingered. How many orphans died throughout the war because people didn't stop, didn't help, didn't refuse to abandon vulnerable children? "We can't save everyone," Michael concluded, "but we can save someone. That's the lesson. Don't be paralyzed by the scope of suffering. Help who you can. That's enough." The Hamburg children proved it. 192 saved lives. Infinite impact. 1960, 15 years post-rescue. The Hamburg children, now in their 30s, had built extraordinary lives. They'd married, had children, established careers. Over 500 people descended from the original 192. Margaret Patterson, now 75, watched with satisfaction. "This is my life's greatest work. Not my husband's fortune, not my family name. This community, these people, that's what matters." She'd spent millions supporting them: education, housing, business loans, medical care. Some criticized, "Why help enemy children when Americans need help?" Margaret's response never wavered. "Because need doesn't have nationality, because children aren't enemies, because I can. That's reason enough." The Hamburg community had spread across America. Some stayed near the estate, others moved for careers. But they remained connected. Annual reunions keeping bonds strong. Anna, now 30, ran a non-profit helping refugee children. "I'm doing what was done for me," giving desperate kids chances they wouldn't otherwise have. Her organization had helped 200 refugee families settle in America. "We've equaled the original rescue," she told Michael proudly. 200 families. "Thanks to what you taught us." What did I teach you? That one person can make a difference, that promises matter, that refusing to abandon people is always right, even when it's difficult. Michael, now 70, was in declining health. He attended one final reunion in 1965, bringing the original unit members still alive, 5 of the 6 soldiers who'd first entered the warehouse. The Hamburg children, now middle-aged adults, honored them with a ceremony. You gave us everything. Lives, futures, hope. We're eternally grateful. Seeing you thrive is gratitude enough, Michael replied. You've exceeded every dream. You're not just survivors. You're leaders, teachers, healers. You make the world better. After the ceremony, Michael pulled Anna aside. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Keep telling the story. Don't let it be forgotten. Future generations need to know that individual actions matter, that one person refusing to accept injustice can create ripples that last forever. I promise, your story will be remembered. Michael died in 1968 at 73. His funeral was massive. Hundreds of Hamburg descendants, fellow soldiers, people he'd inspired. Anna gave the eulogy, voice strong despite tears. He found us dying. He refused to accept that. He fought when others said it was impossible. He kept promises when breaking them would have been easier. And because of that, she gestured at the crowd, all of us exist. Over 600 people descended from 192 orphans he saved. That's immortality, that's legacy. Michael was buried with military honors. His gravestone read simply, he saved children. That's what mattered most. The Hamburg community established a scholarship in his name, helping refugee children attend college. Continuing what he started, Anna explained, helping those who need it most. The legacy continued. The promise kept echoing forward, forever. 1975, 30 years after rescue, Anna, now 45, had become a renowned advocate for refugee rights. She testified before Congress, wrote books, gave speeches, always telling the Hamburg story, always crediting Michael Torres. We were found by accident, she'd explain, but saved by choice. That choice created everything. The Hamburg descendants numbered over 1,000 now, 3rd generation born. Children who'd never known war, never faced starvation, never understood how close their family line came to ending. Tell us the story again, grandchildren would beg Anna, about the warehouse, about Sergeant Torres. She'd tell it. The bombing, the abandonment, 3 weeks of starvation, the American soldiers entering, Michael's promise. The children listened wide-eyed, unable to imagine such horror. That's why we help others, Anna would conclude, because someone helped us, because compassion saved us, because individual actions matter. The Hamburg community had become legendary, a model for successful refugee integration. Universities studied them, governments consulted with them, media profiled them. What made it work? Researchers asked. 3 things, Anna explained. Someone chose to help, someone provided resources. We worked hard to deserve the opportunity. All 3 were necessary. By 1985, 40 years after rescue, approximately 1,500 people descended from the original 192. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, artists, business owners, parents, contributing to America in countless ways. A documentary was made, The Warehouse Children, From Starvation to Success. It traced the complete story, discovery, rescue, immigration, integration, prosperity. The film ended with Anna, now elderly, standing at the Hamburg warehouse site. A memorial had been erected. Here 200 children nearly died. Here American soldiers chose humanity. Here lives were saved that created generations. Every person descended from those 192 children owes their existence to one soldier's decision, Anna told the camera, to stop, to help, to refuse abandonment. That's what we remember. That's what we honor. That's what we replicate. She turned to the memorial. Thank you, Sergeant Torres. Thank you for seeing dying children and saying they matter. Thank you for fighting when it was easier to walk away. Thank you for keeping your promise. The camera pulled back, showing the memorial, the rebuilt warehouse district, the city of Hamburg rising from wartime ruins, life continuing, people thriving. Because once, in 1945, a soldier made a choice to help instead of ignore, to promise instead of abandon, to fight instead of accept. That choice echoed through generations, creating families, careers, contributions, lives, all because Michael Torres stopped at a destroyed warehouse and refused to walk past dying children. That's heroism, not battlefield glory, but persistent compassion, kept promises, refused abandonment, and the unwavering belief that children, all children, regardless of nationality, deserve saving. That lesson endures. The Hamburg descendants carry it forward, teaching their children, help those who need it, keep your promises, never abandon vulnerable people, and the legacy continues forever, because one man refused to walk past, and that choice changed everything.